Hello, this is Lily Mai. I will be doing some reading practice. Apologies in advance if I mess up. I'm a little nervous because I've never done this before, so I'll be reading some random things just to test out the programs or whatever. And here's the first one. For the first time in years, she was truly happy. The feeling curled around every thought, a tendril of hope that grew with each breath. She was afraid to look at it for too long, as though acknowledging it would cause it to disappear. Perhaps the world would never be perfect. Perhaps some things would never be right. But maybe she stood a chance of finding her own sort of peace and freedom. But these days, she didn't know what she needed, what she wanted. If she felt like admitting it, she actually didn't have the faintest clue who the hell she was anymore. All she knew was that whatever and whoever climbed out of the abyss of despair and grief would not be the same person who had plummeted in, and maybe that was a good thing. If you can learn to endure pain, you can survive anything. Some people learn to embrace it, to love it. Some endure it through drowning it. Some endure it through drowning it in sorrow, or by making themselves forget. Others turn it into anger. Sleet hissed down onto the city, relentless, miserable, pattering against parked cars and grimy metal street signs. Carlos tugged along, leaning into stinging gusts with his chin tucked in tight. Sweat clung to him even in the frigid weather, and his breath came in short spasms. Strapped to his heavy suicide vest beneath his dark brown tunic cut into his gaunt frame like a dull knife grating against brittle paper. Pausing below an awning, he sagged against the building to rest for a moment, shuffling his feet against the cold. Winter fat used to keep me warm, he thought with a shiver. Now, at $1.10, the bitter temperature ate at his very core. He fumbled in his pocket for a cigarette and brought it to his lips with trembling fingers, lighting it. One deep drag doubled him over, hacking out bloody spittle and a gut-wrenching cough. Finally, it subsided, and he straightened up, pulling a sleeve across his mouth. Disgusted, he glared at the offending object pinched between his thumb and forefinger, and flicked it onto the wet pavement. Chapter 1. Danny walked Danny walked through the squad room without saying a word. She headed straight into her office and closed the door. Coming back so soon was not going to be easy, but she couldn't sit at home anymore. Everyone stopped what they were doing instead. The funeral was just yesterday. No one expected her back for weeks. The captain had ordered her to take a long vacation. The phone rang before she could sit down. Danny, my office now, came through the receiver. She wiped her face with a hand and head before the captain's office. Before you say anything, I couldn't stay at home anymore, she told the captain before the door was closed. You buried your partner yesterday. You need to take some time. I need to find out who killed him. Close the door and sit down. She stared at the captain, turned, and did as she was ordered. I think it's best for you to take some time. Zach's death is hard for all of us to take. You're his partner. We all know it's hard for you. We'll find out who killed him. Take a vacation. Go to the beach and relax. My partner was killed. I'm not going to sit around on some beach and let the killer get away with it. I need to find out who killed him. I have a job to do. The captain stared at her. He knew what it was like to lose a partner in the line of duty. It took a long time to get over. Some never did. Danny, it's hard for anyone to lose a partner, but you lost more than a partner. You need to get away for a while. Danny looked at the captain in disbelief. Did he know? She was sure they had hid it from everyone. How could he have figured it out? How could he have found out? Why didn't he transfer one of us? It's procedure. Partners are not allowed to get personally involved. It distracts them from doing their job. So they say anyway. It never distracted us. She could deny it, but what would be the point? You knew? Yes, I figured it out about 6 months ago. Why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you transfer one of us? You two are my best. I figured I would wait until I saw if it was affecting your job. It never did. He shrugged. How long was it going on? 13, 14 months? How serious was it? She slowly reached into her pocket and pulled out the ring. He asked me to marry him the night before he was killed. She stared at the ring. I told him I had to think about it. I loved him, and I couldn't give him an answer because I was afraid it would affect how my job. I couldn't give him an answer because I was afraid it would affect how I did my job. He died thinking I didn't love him enough to marry him. He'll never know I wanted to spend the rest of my life with him. She held back the tears and looked back at the captain. I have to find who killed him. There was a knock at the door before it opened. Captain Felton? The man at the door asked. Yes, the captain said as he looked up. Can I help you? Yes, sir, Jake Santos. I transferred here from California. I was told to report to you. He handed a file to the captain. Danny and the captain were silent as they stared at it. Is something wrong? Sorry. Come in, sit down. This is Lieutenant Danny Costello. Nice to meet you, he said, extending his hand. I've heard a lot about you. You were at the funeral yesterday, Danny whispered. She thought she was seeing a ghost yesterday. She missed Zag. She figured she was just seeing things because of that. When she didn't shake his hand, he rubbed the back of his neck. Yes, I was. What do you mean you've heard a lot about me? Captain, what's going on here? Is this some kind of fucking joke? No joke. Zach was my brother. Sorry, but I was his partner for 3 years. I would have known if he had a brother, let alone an identical twin. He didn't know he had a brother until 4 months ago. Even if that's true, he would have told me. Why are you lying? Who are you? She jumped out of her chair and pushed him into the wall. Her arm was on his throat as she stared into his eyes. Danny, calm down, the captain said as he pulled her off Jake. Give us a minute. Danny slowly walked to the door without taking her eyes off Jake. She turned and walked out. The squad room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. She walked past everyone without saying a word. I went to her office, slamming the door. She sat at her desk and took the ring out of her pocket. What the hell just happened? Who is that guy? She turned her computer on, put the ring back in her pocket and typed Jake Santos at the prompt.